had always believed that love required honesty and commitment. When I met my fiancée, Emily, I felt certain that we were building a future together. Our conversations were endless, our laughter constant, and our shared plans can create a house. Travel, maybe even children. I trusted her implicitly, never imagining that the foundation of our relationship could be shaken so abruptly. It started with a text, innocuous at first in its tone, but devastating in its implications. I was at work when my phone buzzed, expecting a simple good morning or a casual note. I opened the message and froze. The words on the screen read, "I still love you, but I need closure with my ex." I stared at it, disbelief consuming me. My mind raced. Closure with her ex. After months of engagement planning, after conversations about forever, after every intimate moment we shared, it felt like the ground had been ripped from under me. I couldn't process how someone could profess love for me while simultaneously declaring a need for emotional reconciliation with someone else. I reread the text multiple times, hoping I had misinterpreted it, hoping that context or typo might soften the blow. But the message was clear, and the implications were devastating. Emily was holding a part of her heart elsewhere while trying to maintain our engagement. I felt anger, confusion, betrayal, and heartbreak all at once. When she returned home that evening, I confronted her immediately. "Emily," I said, my voice controlled but tense, "what exactly do you mean by closure with your ex?" She looked at me with a mixture of guilt and hesitation. "I know it sounds bad," she admitted, "but I need to talk to him to understand things we left unresolved. I don't want to hurt you. I still love you, but this is something I have to do for myself." I could feel the betrayal in my chest like a physical weight. "For yourself?" I repeated, incredulous. "You're telling me you love me, and yet you need to open a door to someone else? How is that fair? How is that respecting our relationship?" She flinched slightly at my intensity, but her tone remained pleading. "I'm not trying to hurt you. I need closure. It's unfinished business. I can't ignore it, and I need to do this before we move forward." I took a deep breath, forcing myself to think clearly. My instinct was to argue, to beg her to reconsider, to demand loyalty. But I realized that would only give her power over my emotions and potentially compromise my self-respect. Instead, I chose a different path, clarity and firm boundaries. "Emily," I said slowly, "closure doesn't exist at the expense of someone else's trust or our commitment. I understand needing to process past relationships, but if doing so requires contact with an ex while engaged to me, then our priorities are misaligned. I cannot accept being second to someone you've left behind. That is not fair, and it is not love." She bit her lip, eyes glistening. "I didn't think it would hurt you like this. I thought I could handle it, that we could work through it together. I appreciate your honesty." I replied, "But honesty doesn't erase the impact of your actions. Love is not compatible with divided loyalty. You cannot ask me to wait while you reconcile emotionally with someone else. That isn't partnership. That isn't respect. That isn't love." The conversation stretched on, tense and emotionally charged. Emily tried to explain, to justify, to promise that it wouldn't affect us. But I remained firm. I refused to compromise my values or my dignity. I understood that true love requires mutual commitment, not conditional affection or divided attention. Ultimately, the decision was unavoidable. Our engagement ended that night, quietly but irrevocably. I realized that love, no matter how intense, cannot survive betrayal of trust or emotional dividedness. Walking away was painful, yes, but it preserved my integrity and set a clear standard. I would not accept a partner who could not fully commit. In the days that followed, I processed the grief of what had been lost. I allowed myself to feel anger, disappointment, and sorrow. But I also recognized the empowerment in asserting my boundaries. I learned that self-respect is not optional, it is essential, especially in relationships where trust and loyalty are paramount. Emily, meanwhile, faced the consequences of her choices. Her attempt to maintain love for me while seeking closure with her ex ultimately left her isolated. The clarity of my response made her realize that she could not have both the relationship she professed to want and the emotional entanglement she tried to maintain. She had to confront the reality of her actions, the hurt caused, and the loss of someone who valued integrity above all. The experience reshaped my understanding of relationships. I realized that love is not merely about affection or shared memories. It is about trust, boundaries, and respect. Divided loyalty cannot coexist with commitment. True partnership requires full emotional presence, not a partial investment in someone else's past. Months later, I met someone new. This relationship was grounded in transparency, mutual respect, and undivided attention. The contrast between my past engagement and this new connection was stark. I recognized the importance of choosing a partner whose values aligned with mine, who could commit fully, and who understood that love requires more than words, it requires actions, boundaries, and unwavering loyalty. Reflecting on the experience, I realized that Emily's text, though devastating at the time, was a pivotal moment. It revealed not only her limitations, but also my own strength. I had been confronted with betrayal, emotional manipulation, and uncertainty, and I responded with clarity, calm, and a firm commitment to my own values. That response defined the trajectory of my future relationships and reinforced the importance of self-respect and integrity. I also learned that closure, while valuable, must never come at the expense of another person's trust or emotional security. Seeking resolution with the past is valid, but it cannot justify compromising a committed relationship. Emily's failure to recognize this principle ultimately ended our engagement, but it also left a clear lesson. Emotional honesty must be paired with respect, responsibility, and boundaries. Over time, I healed. The pain of betrayal softened into reflection. I realized that love is not about holding on at all costs, it is about recognizing when the foundations of trust, loyalty, and mutual commitment have been compromised, and having the courage to step away when necessary. The story of my engagement with Emily serves as a cautionary tale. Texts, confessions, and promises are meaningless if they are accompanied by divided loyalties. Love requires presence, honesty, and full investment. Attempting to straddle past and present affections can destroy even the most promising relationships. In the end, my shock at her text became a turning point. I chose not to compromise my values or my emotional well-being. I refused to accept partial loyalty disguised as love. And in doing so, I preserved my integrity, set clear boundaries, and created the conditions for a healthier, more authentic future. That message, I still love you, but I need closure with my ex, was not just a betrayal. It was a test. And by responding with clarity, firmness, and self-respect, I passed the test of my own principles. It left Emily speechless, yes, but more importantly, it left me empowered, aware, and ready to embrace relationships rooted in trust, honesty, and full commitment.